Trying to put you in the worst mood. Couple more minutes. 2. One more minute. Which phone by yourself? For 7 minutes. Oh. All right. I will get started here. So tonight, I said earlier in the webinar, I hope everybody in here watched it. If not, you need to go and watch it. It's about 30-ish minutes long, but I really broke down a lot of stuff that we covered in the London session with pairs. And just for those who do not know, the London session is my favorite session to trade. So in the Forex market, there are multiple sessions, London being 2 a.m. to 8 a.m., New York being 8 a.m. or 2 a.m. to noon, New York being 8 a.m. to 5 p.m., Tokyo being from, I believe, 8 p.m. to 2 a.m. or 3 a.m. And basically what that means is that the market will move more at certain times. So London session is typically when a lot of the pairs move, such as the Euro, EU, because it is the Euro, and this is a global market. So meaning that when everyone in London is waking up, because right now it's actually 7 a.m., I believe, in London. So everybody's kind of getting up, getting around for work, and everybody is already spending that money, which makes the market fluctuate because it's kind of getting their economy going for the day. So one pair that I saw that's clean that I want to show you guys is Euro USD. So last night, I went into a little bit in depth and on the webinar as well. So what I do when I mark up pairs is I look where price is most recently been. So this is where price currently is, and this is the history of where price has been. So I look for a floor first. or a ceiling, this being the floor, multiple touches, 1, 2, 3, and then the ceiling, 1, 2, 3. And what I'm looking for is I already saw price break above. I saw price break above my ceiling. So therefore, what I'm looking for is tonight, I'm looking for price to break even higher. I'm looking for price to go up even further. Okay? And I'm looking for my next area where price acted as a ceiling and a floor. So I'm looking for this retest to act as a new floor, which was a previous ceiling, act as a new floor, and I'm looking for it to go up. Here, let me change the color of this. All right, and I'm looking for it to go up, and then I'm looking for my next area where I see price has been at, and I'm either going to be looking for price to come up, and I'm either looking for price to retest and continue on its uptrend to the next ceiling or floor. This is about right here, I'd say. It's a good one. So I'm looking for it to come up maybe and test right there. Or I am looking for it to come up, fail to break. Okay. I'm looking for it to retest. And I'm looking for it to come back down. You said, how can you know if the new trend line will break the new ceiling or not? That's where patience comes in. So, for example, like I said, there, patience is very important. So this is when risk to reward comes in. So for example, to me, this looks like a good risk to reward. I see it broke the ceiling. It's testing as a new floor. So I'm looking for this to continue up to the next point that it was tested as a ceiling for. So what's crazy, okay, is I will show you guys how crazy this is and how much it works. So let's look over here, for example. All right. Let's focus right over here. So price broke the floor. Okay. It tested as a new ceiling and it dropped. What happened? Price broke the floor because I see right here is a floor. Right here is a floor. And what happened is it retested the ceiling. It dropped. This tested as the floor. It failed to break the floor. Came back up. Price finally broke the floor. It came up, tested as a ceiling, continued to drop. So for example, if you would have got in on this retest of this newfound ceiling and you wrote it all the way down to where that next floor was, and you would have wrote it down to where the next floor was, that would have been about 147 to 150 pips, meaning with a 0.10 lot size, that would have been $147, or with a 1.0 lot size, that would have been $1,000 and almost $500. And that was in about 3 days or so. So you're averaging about $500 a day. I'm going to get into lot sizes in a second as well. But But so what we're looking for is the power of the retest. So we're looking for price to come up. Now, if price does break this floor, then we're going to be looking for it to come down. We're going to be looking for it to retest as a ceiling. And we're going to be looking for it to drop to the next floor. Okay? How can you, that makes 100% sense, thank you. Of course, absolutely. So let's say price fails to break that floor. We're going to be looking for it to come back up and then do it all over again. So here, I don't want to leave all these lines. But that is, these are the next couple scenarios that we are looking for. So that is Euro USD. I will send this in the group. Empty chart, having some trouble to place your floor and ceilings. So do you mean like if price is going pretty low to where you don't see a previous floor and a ceiling? Or what exactly do you mean on that one? So like with this, you see that. Okay, so like you see with this, what I do is if price failed to break this area, to me it's automatically a floor because obviously there was some type of stability right there, so I'm automatically going to mark it as a floor. So like let's say that it pushed down to here and it failed to break and it came up here, then I would consider this a floor. Because at some point in the past, look at that. That's funny. Ceiling, tested floor, up, floor, came up. Anyway, I'm looking for, that stability. So if it came down, I would be looking for that to come back down and maybe retest again and then go back up. If that makes sense. So that's how I determined that was one of my floors. How can you decide which scenario is more likely to happen so it's less of a gamble during London session time period? So it just comes in paying attention or just watching. It just comes with patience. That's all it is I draw these scenarios for you guys to show you what to potentially look for. So if you see price pushing down right here, we're going to look for a retest, and then we're going to look for it to drop. But if I see that because this isn't an overall downtrend, that it doesn't surprise me if this comes down and retests as a new ceiling and then continues to drop. But if for whatever reason it starts to go up, then I would enter in my buy position around up here, and I would ride it up and then put my stop loss in profit, meaning wherever you entered the trade, you're securing your profits. And that way it's not a gamble, and that way you are collecting your profits on the way up. Okay, so next we're going to do USD JPY. So if you got on the webinar, you know exactly what this setup is. And as you see, this is respecting it perfectly. So ideally, I'm looking for this to come down to this floor, test as the floor. So basically don't place a trade when you don't know for certain if it is going to retest or shoot up. Exactly. That's where this is not gambling like a lot of people, will try to say, because we know what the market is going to do because we're waiting and we have these scenarios for us. We have these scenarios to watch for what happens. So here, I will delete all this stuff so I can redraw it for you and explain where that came from. All right. So once again, like I said, I look for a ceiling. So I look for my ceiling, okay? And then I look for my floor, which I see is down here based on multiple tests. Floor, bounce, ceiling. Came down, tested the floor, shot up, broke. See, this is the type of entry that I'm talking about that I want you guys to be able to catch. Is you see perfectly broke the ceiling, tested, that's beautiful, tested as a newfound floor, see, and then it continued on its way up. All right, now look at what's happening. Price broke down, broke below the floor, testing as a new ceiling, and I'm going to look for price to continue down, and I'm going to look for this area, okay? And if it breaks this area, I'm going to look for it to retest newfound ceiling, and then I'm going to look for it to continue dropping until, like Cooper asked, you know, if you're having a hard time deciding if you don't know where to put anything, well, you see price fail to break right here. So if there is some point in here, whether it's right here, over here, this, you watch for it, and you wait for that retest to test as, you know, a solid floor, and then go back up. That's where patience, this is where patience really comes in. Because this could happen, could break, test, drop again, and then go back up. So look back to see if it retested or broke through. Exactly. That's how, Blake, that's how I'm drawing that's how I'm drawing these floor and ceilings, because I look to the left. I look at all this stuff right here to the left, and I see, okay, floor, ceiling, floor, ceiling, looking for a floor down here. And then, oops, let me delete these real quick. Or, since this has been tested as a floor before, if I start to see a big green, typically is what you guys will see, a big green candle going upwards, then I'm going to enter in a buy position because it acted as the floor, and it's going to continue up. How far back is too far back to base a ceiling or a retest on? So I stick to the 1 hour chart, and I only stick to what I can see in without scrolling. So if that makes sense. So I'm not going to, one sec. So I personally am not going to just start scrolling back all the way over here and say, oh, okay, there's a ceiling and a floor over here. Because this was weeks ago. Okay, this was weeks ago. So price now might be relevant weeks and weeks and weeks ago. However, if you look at something that happened, 2, 3, 4, 5 days ago, all right, it's relevant. So to answer that question, I don't scroll. All right, I see whatever is on here, and that's what I do in my charts. So like I said, so for the scenarios, we're looking for this to come down and either break the floor, act as a new ceiling, and continue on its downtrend that it seems like it's been on for a couple of days. Or if it comes down, fails to break, we're looking for it to come up, retest, and then enter in a buy position until the next floor and ceiling, which is about which I would say actually is about right. So then we're looking for price to come up to about there, and same thing. Looking for it to come up. If it breaks, you guys know what we're looking for. We're looking for that retest to test that new floor, or test that new floor. Oh, that old ceiling is a new floor, and continue on its uptrend. So that is simply what we're looking for on this one. Here, I will take a screenshot of this. And then I will go over all right, so next we have gold. I drew this one up last night, but I will remove all drawing tools for this. So based on the chart, is it more likely to trend up than down? So with USD JPY, what I'm looking for, since it's on a downtrend, I'm looking for it to continue down. Yeah, USD JPY. So since it is, as you can see, down, retested. So I'll show this. You guys can see what actually happened. It broke the floor, retested as a ceiling, dropped, retested as a ceiling. I'm going to be looking for it to drop. So I'm looking more for a sell position on this pair than a buy, to be honest, as far as what I see. But that is just me. So here I'm going to do gold next. Gold. I see that this right here is a ceiling. So I'm looking for and then I place my floor. All right. And then all right, so what I'm looking for on this pair, this one is a little interesting because it hasn't really had any big movement in the last day or so. So I'm either going to be looking for it to break below, test as a new found ceiling, continue dropping down to the next floor. All right, or I'm looking for it to break above, and then you've seen this many times. looking for it to retest. This is how I trade. You know, I'll post these results and post chart markups all the time. This is how I trade, along with a couple other things that I will get into next week. It's very important that you guys get an understanding of this, of the basics before I go into anything further. But these are the two setups I'm looking for. As of right now, I would be looking to potentially buy if I see a nice green wick going, or a nice green candle going upwards. I'd be looking to buy that. But if you do want to be very safe, then you can wait for that to break and then for that retest. If you see it's failing to break, it could come down there, or it could come down here, retest and drop, or break above, retest and go up. And like Cooper asked a little bit earlier, I have no idea, you know, where to draw that because there's no other candles. So you wait. You know, if you're in a buy position, you just keep riding it up and you keep putting pretend this is your stop loss. Stop loss is your safety net. You put your stop loss in profit and you just keep putting it in profit as it keeps going up. And then you secured all of that profit because you waited for your retest, you got into your entry, and your guaranteed profits, which gets rid of, you know, that greed effect and being greedy, which is what I tell you not to be. So that's what that helps with, is, you know, keeping that in profit for you. How many pips is that profit? Let's see. So gold moves more volatile, so that is about 80 pips. That right there is $800 on a 1.00 lot, and that is $80 on a 10 cent, or not 10 cent, on a 0.10 lot. Unless you are stacking on the way up, which everyone here is pretty new. So I just recommend using one order per trade, and I would not trade more than 1 to 2 pairs at a time. All right, so if you see a setup you like for Euro USD and you see a setup you like for USD JPY, I would only trade 2 of those. Or if you like a setup for UJ and you like a setup for gold as well, then only trade those 2. So here, let me copy this real quick. I am also recording this too, so everyone can go back. I hope you guys are utilizing that I'm recording these for you, so that way you can go back and watch them. This one is gold. And then I am doing one more pair, AUD USD, Australian dollar versus the US dollar. So what do I identify? I identify my floor. And then I identify my ceiling. So what am I looking for? I am looking for price to come up here. And I'm either looking for it to break above, retest that ceiling, and then continue up, or I'm looking for it to come down which would be a pretty big move. Or I'm looking for it to come down, I'm looking for it to test, and I'm looking for it to drop. So in my opinion, if there's enough momentum to break the ceiling, I definitely foresee this pair, after I see it retest, I definitely foresee it going up pretty high, because this is a pretty solid ceiling that I would see, or a solid floor floor to be tested as a newfound floor, because it broke it once. So I'd be looking for that break and then for it to continue up for that one. This is in a general downtrend too, though. So you want to look for, like I said, it's all about patience. It's a waiting game, because this isn't a general downtrend. So it might come up and test right here, and it might just continue dropping, retest, and it might just continue dropping. So this is where patience comes in. So that way, we're ready when these setups happen. What are the two smoother curved lines on your chart? Moving averages? Yes, and I don't really use them. I don't want to get into that with you guys. They're here. I will delete them. Yeah, I don't want to get into that with you guys. So like I said, I'm really looking for it to come up, retest, and go up, or fail to break that ceiling, come down, retest this broken floor as a newfound ceiling, and then continue down. And then I would be looking for it to come up probably about right here. Floor, ceiling, ceiling, floor, 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 ceiling, drop. So I'd either be looking for it to come up, test this. In all of this isn't going to happen in one single night. These are several setups to keep your eye on and watch over the next day or two. Some setups might not be ready tonight, but these are possibilities that we want to watch out for. So like I said, we are ready for when these happen. Okay, nothing is happening yet. I see that this is starting to break the floor, but the candle has not closed yet. We still have 28 minutes, so therefore I'm not taking any type of trade. One, because it hasn't retested, and two, because this could just fake everybody out and just continue up. So that's why we're waiting. I am going to send these setups in the group right now for you. One sec. All right, here's. If it does, the retest then would be a perfect go to sell, right? Yes. If price breaks below here and it retests, then I would sell, yes. Like I said, the candle hasn't closed yet, so we're waiting until 3 to see what would happen. All right, so that was the first one is Euro USD. The second one is USD JPY. The third one that I'm sending, this one is gold, XAUUSD. And then the last one I'm sending is AUD USD. All right, so these are your guys' trade setups for tonight. It also is nice too if you do, if you are watching these on a laptop and you click on the picture, it'll automatically open it for you, and then it'll literally look like what you see here. So I'll show you real quick. This is what it'll look like. It won't be live because it's a screenshot. So what usually helps is when people do the markup that looks exactly like this, and then they can watch it live as it happens, like I would with my markups. So with that being said, I hope you guys had a good London session. I hope everybody learned a little bit more. I will continue to do these as long as you guys want me to. On the USD JPY, do you think it's going to continue down its downward trend? When would you enter if it's going to continue its downward trend? So personally, I would have already entered because it came up and it retested that ceiling perfectly. So that would have been my entry right here. And I would be putting my stop loss and profit probably about right here. Or putting my stop loss like right here, my safety net. So therefore, I'm not risking anything anymore. Because you see it came up, took a couple hours, but it retested